Hey everybody, it's the blind guy here again, and I'm going to do a little three-part series with some more war chest games where I played three of the best players, and we'll see how I did. In this match here, this is against one of the, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but whenever they have the CDC on the end of their name, that means that they are a French player, and this particular player is ranked in the top 20, and so he's a very good player. And in this game, I run a variation of the Warrior Priest small bag strategy, and so this might be helpful for those of you if you're just starting out and you want to learn how to run the small bag strategy. This might help you out a little bit. I have to do it a little bit different because this player is so good, he's not going to let me run it the normal way. So let's just talk about that a little bit. If you're going to be running the small bag, now you see I've got the magnifier up just to help us so we can't see what he has and we can't see how many chips he has in his bag, just so that we can play this a little bit more normal. So if we look here, let me adjust the microphone here to make sure that you're going to be able to hear me. Okay. So if we look at what what we have the Ensign, the Warrior Priest, the Scout, and the Lancer. And now that's not so as important if you're wanting to run the Warrior Priest small bag. What you have doesn't matter quite as much. The good news is I can still use the Scout to control a base and still run the small bag very effectively. So the Scout's a good combo with the Warrior Priest if you're ever able to get that. But what you really need to have to look out for is what he has. So there's certain units that you just really, it's almost impossible to run the small bag strategy against unless the other player is very new to the game. And so those kinds of units are going to be the Pikeman, the Berserker, and if you're playing with the expansions, you're also going to look at the Bishop. And so particularly those three units are going to be extremely difficult to run the small bag strategy against. For one, the Pikeman removes units when he's killed, so it's going to kill your Warrior Priest if you try to kill him. The Berserker is going to just have enough movement to eliminate the Warrior Priest if he gets too close, because a Berserker can move up to 4 spaces at once and attack, 4 moves. And the Bishop, you can't attack him if you're bolstered, so if you get too close to him with your Warrior Priest, you can't be bolstered to protect yourself, so he will usually eliminate your Warrior Priest. Another one to look out for is going to be the regular cavalry. If the other player has the initiative bonus, what will happen is he'll get close. He'll get 2 spaces away from your Warrior Priest. He'll flip the initiative, attack your Warrior Priest, remove one of them, and then draw a new cavalry and remove the other Warrior Priest. So that's a little bit more preventative because you can just kind of keep your distance from him. But those are units to be careful of. But you'll see here my opponent doesn't have any of these units, and so I knew my best bet at winning this game would be to run some variation of the Warrior Priest small bag strategy. I am first player, so he has the advantage with the initiative flip. And so let's see how we play this here. So I'll move through the moves here. Let me see if I can move this over a little bit. Okay, so he brings out his mercenary. We recruited a Warrior Priest, so we have to get all 4 of our Warrior Priests. We then drop out an Ensign. He does not deploy, so that's okay. He recruits a mercenary in order to move. We bring out our Warrior Priest. Okay, now he's got his archer out, so this is where we have to be a little careful. We don't want to allow the archer to eliminate a Warrior Priest. I bring up the Warrior Priest. I'm going to use the Scout to cap the base to the right of the Warrior Priest there. We don't worry about the Lancer right now. We're just going to bolster him out. We're going to bolster the Ensign out as well because we want to get rid of all of our other units except for the Warrior Priest. Drop the Scout. So the Scout's going to be able to control that base. Not too worried about what he's doing yet. Archer's still not in range, so we're good there. We bolster out our Ensign, and so now we can cap the base with the Scout. And so here is where we would bolster. I wait to bolster the Scout just to see in case this mercenary moves. I can still attack, but it looks like he's not going to. So I can bolster the Scout to protect that base. And now here's where I have to run it a little bit differently. Normally you would bolster the Warrior Priest, but I keep, because this Archer can be a threat, I actually keep three of the Warrior Priests in my bag for a little bit of time here, because he's more of a threat if I can't get up next to him, so I need that mobility. So that's why I run it a little bit different here. So let's move on to the base. We're safe, okay, so far. Now here, watch this. So this is where he moves that. He moves his Archer up. He's played 2 of them, so I know at most he's only got 1 left. And so I've got to, if I stay there, he's gonna just pick me off, and it'll be game over because I don't have anywhere else to even deploy my Warrior Priest. So I've got to move up and attack. So I move up close to him. He moves. Now I know that was his last one. He's played 3. So I can get onto that base. I could have also moved back, but I think being aggressive in this situation is the better move. He moves down his Marshal, and this is where things are a little dangerous because if he has another Marshal, which I knew that he only had 1, I could have been killed there. That's where I would want to move that Warrior Priest backwards instead of up if he had more than 1 Marshal. But I know I'm still safe for now. And he's got enough units that he's not going to redraw anything right now. His bag still had units in it. So at this point, actually I misspoke. He is going to get everything back. But he moves back his Archer. He didn't draw the Marshal, so I got a little lucky there. I can cap the base, kill the Marshal, and move back. The mercenary moves up. I'm doing okay. At this point, I'll cap that base. Actually, I bolster first to protect myself from that mercenary. Mercenary caps on my base. That's okay. I'm not too worried about that yet. Cap the base, move up. I'm going to sacrifice a unit. He's going to take one of mine with an Archer or the mercenary. Now, he had already claimed the initiative, so I can claim it back at this point, or I wouldn't have done that move. So I knew I was going to lose 1 unit, but I could flip the initiative, and I'll have a free attack here. And you'll see here, my bag has 0 chips. And I've got 2 Warrior Priests and the coin, so I know that any attack I make, I'm going to redraw a Warrior Priest. That's the strength of the small bag strategy. And so I know I've got his mercenary here. And I'll redraw Warrior Priest. Move towards the Archer. I moved here instead of here because I didn't want this Archer to get way over here. Whereas if he moves over there, I can still follow him with this Warrior Priest. With an Archer, you always want to keep applying pressure to him and keep making them move back or they're going to make your life pretty tough. He moves up. That was a good move on his part. If I can follow him up. He brings in the mercenary. At this point, I'm not in any danger. I've now recruited an Ensign to go grab this point here. Because it's not, it's going to take him forever to get there he doesn't have any swordsmen. So it's pretty much mine. And he deploys a Marshal. I move up the Ensign. he moves down the mercenary. I kill the archer, and then he forfeits because he knows I'm going to get onto this spot here and this spot here. So I think I played it fairly well. I think that move up, the aggression up here, ended up paying off, but I think it was a little risky in case he had redrawn that marshal. I probably would have lost the game at that point. So sometimes against a player who's clearly, I'm going to be honest, he's a superior player to what I am. Sometimes you have to take a little bit of a risk to try to win the game, because if you get in a long game with somebody like that, they're going to outplay you eventually. He's an excellent player. So I hope that helped you guys. If you have any questions on how to run that strategy, you can put them in the comments. Normally, you would just bolster out everything. You would try to... Here, let me move this down. You can move one of your other units up and hold this one and then bolster. That's going to take more moves though to get the warrior priest in running, but that's a good way to play it too. Or you can just bolster everything and try to get these 6 bases over here, which is usually how I end up doing it. He's good because once the warrior priest gets moving, it really attacks these bases really quickly up here. So you can just work him up. Start off here usually with him, so he's safe. Get everything bolstered out, bolster him, move up here, and then you start moving through these bases, picking things off. Now, if you have to also be careful if he has a light cavalry. You have to be careful not let that cavalry get this base, and so it is a little tricky where if you're running the warrior priest, the light cavalry will grab this one, this one. You'll want to go up and grab this one in that situation, and you have to keep that cavalry from jumping to this base. So in that case, I usually push this one hard and then push towards this one to keep the cavalry from, because if you push here, here, and then go here, the light cavalry will just jump onto that base once you leave it. And so you have to go here and then push towards the light cavalry so he can't get by you. Yeah, it's a little tricky to run the strategy against a light cavalry as well. I should have said that's a decent counter as well. It's a strong strategy. It does have counters. You do feel like a bit of a punk running it against people, but you got to use the strategies that are available, and it's definitely one of them. So I hope that helps. Let me know if there's any questions and comments, and I will see you guys on the next video. Laters on the Minjay.
Laters on the Minjay.